In Enugu State, where hills watch silently and the soil remembers every oath ever sworn upon it, there was a church that grew faster than sense. Its name was Mountain of Divine Encounter Ministry. The paint on its walls was white, too white, like bones washed by rain. At night, no insects circled its lights. Even crickets knew better. And at its altar stood a man people called Pastor Frank. Pastor Frank looked like answered prayer. His voice was soft but firm, trained to rise and fall like a hymn. When he smiled, dimples appeared. When he prayed, tears came easily. He never shouted unless the crowd needed it. He never whispered unless fear was required. People said, "God lives in that man's mouth." Women knelt before him. Men feared to shake his hand too tightly. Children stopped crying when he passed. When he laid hands, bodies fell, not gently, but violently, as if pushed by invisible palms. And when he said, "I saw you in a vision," secrets leaked from people's eyes. But Enugu land does not bow to titles. Before the altar, there was Franklin Okere. A boy who learned early that prayers do not fill empty stomachs. His father died suddenly after a bitter land dispute. His mother followed slowly, her body drying up after visiting a spiritual helper who promised protection. Frank watched pastors preach patience while driving cars patience could not buy. He prayed. He fasted. He waited. Nothing happened.
Help us.
That was
I
when
can't do
bitterness
this
taught him
alone.
its first lesson. Those who wait for God often watch others eat first. So when a man whispered to him one evening, "There are powers that don't delay," Frank followed. The shrine lay deep in the bush, where paths ended and courage turned back. The priest there did not ask Frank's name. "You want mouths to open when you speak," the old man said, chewing bitter cola. "You want fear to follow you like a shadow." Frank nodded. The priest cut his palm and mixed the blood with black liquid inside a calabash. "Drink," he said. "But know this, power is a child that never stops eating." Frank drank. Something crawled into his chest that night, slow, cold, patient. When he returned home, he dreamed of crowds kneeling, and something kneeling behind him. The ministry grew unnaturally fast. Miracles came too easily. A barren woman conceived after one prayer. A cripple walked after one touch. A madman screamed and collapsed, quiet forever. Testimonies filled Sundays. But after each miracle, something followed. The healed woman bled to death during childbirth. The walking man drowned mysteriously. The madman's brother died in his sleep. Every miracle took something else. And every 3 months, someone connected to the church died suddenly. Pastor Frank always lifted his hands and said, "The devil is angry." People shouted amen, unaware of who was really angry. Behind the pulpit was a room built without church approval. Inside it, the floor was bare earth. Clay pots lined the walls, each bearing a name. Some names were crossed out. Some were still fresh. There was a wooden mirror that refused to show Frank's face. Only shadows moved in it. Every Saturday night, Pastor Frank entered barefoot. He did not pray. He negotiated. Miracles were exchanged for blood. Crowds were exchanged for silence. Offerings were exchanged for souls. And the Spirit began to speak clearly. "You promised me what you love most." Deborah, his daughter, had stopped smiling long ago. She heard whispers under the altar. She smelled soil on her father's clothes. She saw shadows move when he prayed. One night she asked, quietly, "Daddy, why does the church breathe at night?" Frank slapped her. The Spirit laughed. That Sunday, the air was wrong. Birds fled the roof. Dogs howled from afar. The sky pressed down like a warning. Pastor Frank announced a covenant service. "A sacrifice that will change destinies," he declared. The church overflowed. He wore his whitest robe, but his hands shook. As he preached, his voice rose unnaturally. Some blessings require pain. Some doors open only when something dies. People rushed forward, money, jewelry, documents. But the altar stayed hungry. Then Deborah stood. "Daddy," she said, her voice calm, heavy. "Is this the sacrifice you promised them?" The lights went out. When they returned, the floor beneath the altar had cracked open. Fire erupted from behind the pulpit. People ran. People screamed. People prayed too late. Deborah vanished. Pastor Frank locked himself inside the secret room. "I built your house," he cried. "I fed you." The spirit rose, not in form, but in truth. "You fed me with people," it said. "And now you have nothing left." The mirror finally showed him. Not a pastor. Not a prophet. Just a frightened man who wore God's name to hide greed. They found him days later. White robe soaked dark. Bible open but unread. Hands twisted backward. Mouth frozen in terror. No wound. No poison. Only payment. The shrine priest disappeared. The church was sealed. Grass grew through the altar. Till today, elders in Enugu say, "Not every amen reaches heaven. Some answer underground." Power without truth will always demand blood. A shepherd who feeds on his flock will die alone. Faith is light. Deception always eats in darkness. And whatever is buried beneath an altar must one day rise to collect its debt. Please like, share and subscribe for more interesting stories.